In honor of Megan, we are talking about famous evil dolls and why we find them so scary. I'm Candace, and with me is my fellow waffle, Mac. Hey, Mac.
Hey, Candace.
Okay, so I think everybody has seen at least like a trailer of Megan.
Yes. Well,
Yeah,
that or
movie
the
coming out.
dancing.
But Megan's supposed to be comforting to this girl. Allison Williams plays an aunt who just got custody of her niece because her parents died, because her niece's parents died. And she is a scientist who created this doll and is like, this doll's going to help her get through her parents' death. And of
Famous
course,
last words.
yes. And of course, the robot AI thing takes what the humans say too literally. And
Yep.
it's like, take care of this girl, and it's by any means necessary, including murder.
Oh, Megan's a good little protector, isn't she?
She attacks, she protects,
It's
she
it's inter
kills.
it's interesting that they're going in that route as opposed to evil dolls like Chucky, whose motivation is murder,
Yes.
for the sake of creating chaos and murder. Whereas Megan's, it seems her murderous intent kind of develops a little bit over time as as they basically misjudge their own creation.
Yep, it's all about the Frankenstein monster thing, you
Which
know?
we're starting down that path with all this AI art and stuff like that now.
I really like the trailer because it also has a Taylor Swift song. It's Nice to Have a Friend, but they turned it into something so creepy, and I love when horror does this.
Oh
It's
my
turned something
gosh,
that
me too.
is, like, kinda comforting and nice, and all of a sudden turn on its head, make it creepy, which is what dolls do.
Yes. You send me something was talking about the uncanny valley.
Yes, we talk about that a lot with CGI. Think Polar Express with Tom Hanks, where it looks kind of realistic, but it's not, and there's something in our brain that makes us feel creeped out,
Yes,
and it's an emotional response.
which came into existence around the 1970, it looks like.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, like you said, this term describes the dip in emotional response humans tend to have when viewing a realistic human-like object, whether that's a robot, mannequin, or doll.
Yeah, so I think that's, like, why mannequins a lot don't have faces on them, because there is that uncanny valley, and obviously they're there to sell clothes, so they don't wanna creep out their audience.
Yeah, if you saw a moving, blinking mannequin, I think it would definitely stop you from buying the clothes that that mannequin was advertising. Here's the thing about killer dolls is not everybody is afraid of them. Not everybody views them through the lens of the uncanny valley. And yet they still have this massive appeal and hold, I think, over
Pop
a lot of
culture
yeah,
and us.
seriously.
So there's actually a term for being scared of dolls. It's pediophobia, which, yes, sounds like something else, especially if you're British, and it's the fear of dolls, fear of humanoid figures. Some people are afraid of dolls and even stuffed toys.
I grew up knowing about Chucky, and being interested in Chucky, but I think the very first killer doll I ever encountered through film and TV was Talkie Tina, which was this doll from an episode of The Twilight Zone.
Yes. 'Cause they would
Uh,
play reruns all the time,
yep,
and you'd be
yep,
like, "It's black and white, it's not gonna be scary,
and
right?"
oh, how wrong we were.
Yes. So, it was the 126th episode of The Twilight Zone, and it's about a dysfunctional family whose problems are made even worse when Taki Tina comes into their life, and yeah, there's all these issues. The mother buys the doll for her daughter because her new husband and her can't have any children, and there's a lot of issues that come with that. But Taki Tina goes, "My name's Taki Tina, and I love you very much." And it just
And it goes from there. And she terrorizes the family. I think a lot can be traced back to Talkie Tina and to some of the, old horror films with even like the talking dummies and ventriloquist doll.
yeah, Taki Tina was even the inspiration for Gabby Gabby and the 2019 film Toy Story 4, according to its director. So,
What?
yeah, she was creepy a little bit. She was
See,
the
we
antagonist
can
of
we
that
can
movie.
give our respect to Talkie Tina and
She
acknowledge her as one of the firsts.
And honestly, she's a lot like what Megan seems to be from this trailer is that she's there to comfort a little girl and, defend her and give her some happiness. And, she might just do a murder or two.
Oh, it's collateral damage. The concept of malevolent dolls started gaining attention in the 20th century when film and entertainment technology was able to realistically portray safely inanimate dolls as dangerously animate. And so,
Yeah,
we have the Devil Doll by Todd Browning and the Living Doll from the Twilight Zone, which is Taki Tina.
and there have been stories about evil dolls or possession for years before the movies because I think, again, those eyes, they watch you, and
Yep.
that I think inspires a lot of fear. I'm trying to think of all the dolls I had growing up, and I had Cabbage Patch dolls, which don't look very human. So I think that's why I like them.
So it's that human resemblance for you that just creeps you out.
Yeah, it's like it's some point they have a scale even. If they hit like the midpoint where it's half doll, half human, that creeps out people much more.
So, did you ever happen to glance at the Child's Play franchise at all? I know that you're not the biggest horror fan, but those movies are, pretty iconic in pop culture. And I'm
Oh
wondering if
yeah.
you've come across them at any point in your life.
So as a child of the 90s, I remember vividly seeing the VHS cover at Blockbuster and it's staring at me and me staring back at it. And it randomly coming on, TV 'cause I think, like, the mother is played by the Seventh Heaven Mother.
I'm blanking on her name for some reason. Gosh, what kind of Chucky fan am I?
No, it's all good, but yeah,
Christine Hicks. Christine
yeah.
Hicks.
So I was like, "Oh, is this like a Seventh Heaven episode?" It was not.
Oh God, no, furthest from the thing.
Yeah, so why do you think Chucky is so popular, Matt?
Oh, well, I think it's a combination of his like ludicrous line deliveries, his sarcasm, his humor, and the violence and the tone of the Child's Play franchise, and how each film kind of speaks to a different group of people or a different generation, and they all vary in tone, and yet they still have this congruent story. And I think that there's so much to love with that, the growth and development of a franchise, because it makes you feel like you're growing and developing alongside Chucky. If a serial killer can grow and develop.
So in the Chucky series, he's, just there's just a regular toy called My Buddy, right?
Well, a good guy doll. So
Good guy
there's
doll,
good
okay.
guy doll, yeah, and there's a serial killer named Charles Lee Ray, and he gets shot, and before he dies, puts his soul, uses voodoo, and the reoccurring joke is their book Voodoo for Dummies, and he puts his soul in the body of a good guy doll, and the rest is history. And see, the interesting thing with Chucky is that, with Charles Lee Ray, he has to get his soul out of the doll's body, and he can only do that in the first few films, with the first person he encounters, and so that ends up being this kid, Andy Barkley, and the rest is history. And
And
we even
again
have a show now with it too, and I just think, like I said, it adds to the appeal as this franchise grows and evolves.
so again, the doll is bought for the kid for comfort, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And of course, it turns on the head.
And it's almost perfect because who's gonna believe a kid that a doll is evil?
Oh, exactly, yeah. That also speaks to a lot of, like, childhood fears of, like,
Mhm.
not being believed.
I think that that's a good point to make because it really does tie in with just not being heard, and that's a whole point of Andy's story within the first Child's Play film is that people actually believe he was the one committing these murders because they don't want to believe a doll. I mean, and who would want to believe
But
that a
still a
doll was doing
child?
this? I know, right? And so they go to that.
Honestly, I didn't like it because he looks so much like a Cabbage Patch Kid.
He does kind of look like a Cabbage Patch Kid.
No, he has,
He's
like, the
and
hair.
he's totally on that, like, the line of cute and absolutely terrifying. But I also think that he gained some iconicism when his bride came into the picture, Tiffany, and, everyone loves a good horror woman, and she became the leading lady of that franchise, and again, added to the popularity.
Did you ever read Goosebumps as a kid?
I did. I was just thinking about Slappy.
Yes, exactly.
Yep,
He's actually one of the most iconic characters, I would say. Like, if you think of Goosebumps, you think of this
yep,
dummy, right?
yep, and I think, like, in posters and stuff of the, franchise, he's usually front and center in all the monsters and stuff because everyone recognizes Slappy.
Yeah, and I
And
think that's
he had several books in the Goosebumps
yeah. And I think
series.
that might be, like, what, like, most kids' first introduction of the creepy doll is. Most super creepy tropes that we're introduced to is through Goosebumps. There was also, Are You Afraid of the Dark, which is a '90s show, which I was terrified of course. It was the one episode was called The Tale of Dark Music, which had a life-size walking and talking doll and had, like, a creepy grin on it.
Oh, no.
And wait, let me send you a photo of it, Matt. Can you see why I was scared of this? Mac
Yes,
is a little bit younger than me, so
its face is absolutely horrifying. Its dress is very unsettling because of the way its hands disappear kind of into the sleeves,
and again, I think with the doll thing
and
too
her
is
teeth are showing. Ugh,
yeah, they don't blink usually.
no.
I think that's a very human thing is to blink, or a very alive thing is to blink. You don't trust somebody who blinks too much or blinks too little.
Right.
We wanna know what doll were you most scared of? What doll are you still scared of? Because I have a list.